So at the end of part one, this is where we were. We had the blank profile sketched. Like I mentioned, this is what you would need to create your DXF file from. Let's go ahead and get back into the modeling tool set, and we're going to take this into 3D. So like I mentioned in the previous part one, when this turns on my computer, the way it's set up, or on my preferences, when this turns pink, it shows that there's a closed shape there, and then that can be extruded. Now you need to have a closed shape to do an extrusion of a solid. It is possible to extrude lines, but they just create a really thin sheet, or like a thin little piece of paper, and that it is handy for some things, but for creating a 3D model we're gonna need to use this closed shape. So I'll go ahead and right click in there, or left click in there, right click on it. I'm going to say extrude it. The arrow comes up, shows which direction the extrusion will go along the z-axis. So it's going to come out of the z-axis towards us. The dimension that we had previously for the thickness of this was 3.25 millimeters. So I type in 3.25 millimeters and get this. Alright, now that is a body, and I like to work with components, so I'm going to go to the browser, and under the bodies folder, it sees that this in your browser a bodies folder has been inserted, and inside the bodies folder is body number 9. And now you can double click on that and call that what you want. I'm not going to do anything to that at the moment. What I'm going to do is right click on that and say create components from bodies. Now components, you can move those around, and that's bodies you're not able to move around. So as a component I can drag this around and place it in different locations and use it to use multiple components to create an assembly by moving them around on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on that component that it created, and I'm going to call that blank profile. And you just enter. Alright, so now we have a 3D part, 3D component on there, which is our 3.25 millimeter wide Puukko knife blank. Alright, we'll go ahead and turn off the sketches for now. We don't need, yeah, we're going to leave the sketches on. We'll close that. Let's open our canvas. We're going to work on the handle a little bit. Straighten this up. Get the browser out of the way. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I want to put this handle on here, and on the dimensions that were specified, the overall length of the handle should be 115 millimeters. So we'll take that dimension into consideration as we do our handle. And I'm just going to use this one down here to do my drawing on. Alright, so I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to create it on this face right here, so it's on the same plane. I'm going to put a line in here. From there down to there. Now we're going to calibrate our sketch, or calibrate our canvas. We'll go to calibrate. I'm going to click on this point right here, and then click down here again. I'm going to call that 20, so that rescales the drawing. Go ahead and delete that line. It's not necessary for that there. We'll close this. Alright, so now our image is scaled to what size that we want it, or is calibrated to the size that I wanted it to be at. I'm going to jump right here and make a point, and then come down 20, make another point. Alright, so that's looking pretty good for me. I'm happy with that. Go back up to the tools. I'm going to select an arc and start drawing the handle. I'm going to start at this point, left click. I'm going to come over here to about where I think the arc will fit. And then select a middle point. That looks pretty good. Now I've done some experimenting on this yesterday because I haven't drawn a handle like this before, so this took me some practice to find a technique that would work for me. I'm just going to draw a straight line into this area and then repeat that straight line. Let's see, where would that be? That back edge would project up into that region, I think. Alright, back to an arc, 3-point arc on the bottom. And I'm going to drop it, I think right about there ought to do it. It looks pretty good. Back to a straight line. Take it right into that corner. Right click, brings up this menu, select line again, and then bring this out. Right about there. Alright, I'm going to close the canvas back, or close the canvas. And this is what we have now. There's an outer profile of the blade handle. And then this line here references the width that we want to keep. Alright, when I talked about extruding a line earlier, what I've used it for so far, and I'm sure there's a lot of other uses, I've used it to create a plane. So what I want to do now is draw on the end of those two lines the shape of the handle that we want to extrude, or we want to sweep it. But there's no plane, and to try to come up with a plane in the right spot would be difficult, because then you have to like move it all around. So what I will do is, under modify, do a press pull of this line. Let's see. Let's start over. I get the right sequence so it's not so complicated. We do a press pull of that line. Let's turn that off. Clear the selection. We don't want it chaining because that chains all the lines it touches. I just want that line. Okay, so now you can see what's going to happen. That line is going to press pull perpendicular to our drawing. And then we'll just pull a little surface out there. Doesn't matter how far. Say OK. Our sketch automatically turns off when you do something like that. Let's turn the sketch back on. And you see what we have is a little plane right at the end of those two, right at the end of that profile for the handle. And that's what we wanted. Because what's going to happen next is we're going to draw on that. So I select a sketch, and I select that little plane right there. So now we're drawing on this plane, which runs XY back and forth across there. Alright, so let's see if this is gonna go into sketch. Let's project this line. Alright, so we projected that 20mm line from this sketch into this plane. So even though we can see it there, before we project it, it's not included in this plane as an object. Now it's included in this plane as a reference object that we can use in our drawing on this particular plane. And so that's an important step, to include the drawing components into the current plane you're working on if you want to reference them or draw using them. I'm going to go back to the sketch. I'm going to create an ellipse. When you see that triangle, that means you're at the center of the object that you're on. So I'm at the center of this vertical line, which is where I wanted to be. Now for this ellipse to work, you start at the center, you select along the major axis, which is the longer dimension, you select that end point there, so it went up to the top of this line, creating a 20 millimeter tall ellipse along the wide surface. Click that. Now I'm going to come down here to the side and create a 12 millimeter wide on the shorter dimension of the ellipse. I just created 12 because it's it's close to 4 times the width of the blade blank, and I thought that it would look like a good proportion. Enter. Now we have an ellipse at the end of our circle. Alright. When you see streaky like that, that means you're on top of a sketch with a body underneath it. So we're going to turn this sketch off for just a second. I'm going to select that and delete it. Let's see. I'm selecting that. Oh, I'm still in the sketch. So I got to stop the sketch first. Select that. Now I'll turn the sketch back off because it came on when I stopped it. Select that body and delete it because we're done with it. It was just in the way now. And so we're back to what we started out with originally, and now we turn this sketch back on, which is on a different plane, and we have 2 lines with an ellipse at the end. Alright, I'm going to leave that line in there for now because I ran through this and it turned out to be handy later. Now you might think you're ready for a sweep, and I'll sweep it and show you what else we need to do before we continue. And I'm doing this in an order that a novice would do it in and get caught up, because then you will learn the process. So we go under create, we're going to do a sweep. We're going to do a sweep with a path and a guide. So the path, one point on the profile will follow the path and the other point will follow the guideline. We're going to select the profile. In here, hold down Control key, select the other side of that because there's a line bisecting, so it creates 2 pieces of that profile. I'm going to select the path. You see that we have chain selection on, so it'll select everything that's touching that. Don't want that to happen. Turn that off. Because it's connected by that line, it's doing the whole thing, and we don't want that for now. I'm going to select that line, and that line. So we have all of those selected for the path. Highlight guide rail, select that one, and that one. And this is the message that I knew would come up. And if you're a novice, you'll probably see this. The path is not smooth. Let's see. Try modifying it. Okay. So cancel this because our path is not smooth. I'll show you how to smooth the path. Left click on the line, right click on it, and go down to edit sketch. I'm going to edit this flat sketch that these 2 lines are part of. Now over here in your sketch palette, you can drop that down. You'll see a tangent function. We're going to do a tangent. Select this line and this line. No, not going to do that. I'm going to undo that. Alright, let's skip the tangent first. I forgot one step that I did yesterday that I needed to do today. We're still in the sketch mode. We're going to come back to the sketch and we're going to add fillets. Let's see, we'll add a fillet here, in here. I want to add a big fillet. Let's add 30 millimeters. And then we'll add it here, and here, and there, and there, and there. Alright, looks like it didn't fill it there. Not going to worry about that because that's already those two are already tangent. Alright, now we will tangent with our fillets in there. Okay, so that shows those are all tangent. Let's hit this one. Come on. Oh, where are we at? Escape. My computer is kind of goofy sometimes. Try it again. There. There. Alright, that's done. That one. Alright, it says it's already got applied to it. So I'm trying to over constrain it. Alright, close this sketch out. Now our line should be smooth enough for the sweep function to work. Our path, I mean. So sweep. Select. Control key. Select again. Oops, we're going to go to there. Turn that chain off. Chain comes in handy if you're doing this in a different workflow. Let's turn that off. Alright, we'll select our path. Select that little filleted area that we've added in. There we go. And then we're going to select our guide rail across the top. Alright, so we've swept our handle. And the one important thing is you want to have profile, for this to go and come out nice, you want to have the profile scaling set to scale. Show you what happens if you don't. If you say set to none, then it continues with the same profile that it started with all along the path. That's not going to work, is it? That's handy for other functions. And if you stretch it, let's see what happens here. So it takes the profile and just stretches it out, but doesn't allow it to elongate on the sides at all. So it just gets narrower and narrower along the sides the farther apart those 2 points get. Which that's not what we want either. We want to have that thing scaled, that oval scaled. So that as those 2 points follow along the path and the guide rail and expand and contract the oval, that the width increases and decreases with it as it moves along. Alright, now you can see that the top stopped before the bottom did, just the way this is configured. And I want to make it a little bit longer. Alright, so I'm happy with the extrude or the sweep. I'm going to close that out. But I want this to be a little bit longer. I want it to reach out to at least that end. So I'm going to go into modify, press pull, select that face, and give it a little tug. Oh. Right, so it tugged along those lines. It doesn't matter the distance that you're going to tug because I'm going to cut it off anyway. I'm going to come in later and cut this off. But when it was back here, I wanted it to be more like the drawing showed. So we'll trim that off in a bit. Actually, I'll show how to trim that off now. Alright, so let's open this up. We've got a new body. I'm going to right click on it and create components from a body. I'm going to turn this, I'm going to call this component the handle scale. We'll just call it, yeah, handle. It's not a scale really, is it? That's the handle. Alright, enter. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Go back to, let's see, right, left click in there just so we can see what's happening. I'm going to select that, right click, edit the sketch again. This time I'm going to draw a line from here to that point. Left click again, continue the line function. And you see those two hash marks. Let's see, right there in the towards the center of the line segments. Those two lines are parallel, which is what I was after. Alright, we'll just go over here a good amount. I'm just creating a tool to cut the back of the knife off. Okay, left click again, continuing the function. Just go up there somewhere. Over here, and then back. And then we have this closed body here. And I'll show you what we're doing. We're going to turn the handle back on. And what I'm going to do is just cut along, or just cut this line off, and it'll take all that with it. And so I just made that extra big just because, to be sure. Alright. Now I'm going to stop the sketch. Left click in there, right click it. I'm going to extrude it. And you have functions here, direction of extrusion, one side, two sides, or symmetric. We're going to do a symmetric extrusion since this is located in the center of the blade, or the handle. We want it to extrude both directions, and it's going to extrude symmetric. You can type in a dimension if you want. I'm just going to grab the arrow. Whatever I do this way, it does the other direction. Alright. And we're going to say cut. There's other functions in there that you can do. We're going to cut. I'm cutting the back of the knife off. Knife handle off. Straighten that up. Alright, so now what I've done is cut the back of the knife handle off. Let's turn the sketch back on, or the canvas back on, and see what it looks like. So there, it's following the profile pretty good. Turn that back off. Alright, this is going to be a little bit tricky. I experimented with this yesterday to get it to work. It might take me a couple of tries. I'm going to turn this body, or this component off again. Let's square this to the front. We're going to edit this sketch. Right there. We start up here. I'm going to go up. Doesn't matter. This is dimension. What's going on here? Alright, start there. Going up. Alright, something's going on here. Let's undo that. Undo it again. Undo it again. Try it again here. Alright, for some reason it's going down when I go up. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Escape. Let's go in a different direction first. I'm not sure what to do about that yet. We'll go this way, 3.25, because we wanted the bolster and the pommel to be roughly the same as the blade thickness. So we got a 3.25. We'll repeat that line. Just come down so that we're straight. You can see that it's got that little straight indicator up there at the corner. Alright, I don't know what that was all about. My computer's pretty puny. Alright, we're going to go to 3.25. Try that again. 3.25. Enter. Oh, I wasn't paying attention, was I? Alright, going to delete that. Things are starting to run slow for some reason here. I'm sure it's my tired little computer. 3.25. Alright. And repeat the line function from here. Just run it up. Repeat that again. Run it up. It doesn't matter up here, just get it over there. Create that spot. Alright, I'm going to get rid of this little line here so it doesn't cause us headaches. Okay. Now we will stop the sketch. Going to select, Control key, press select. Control key still down, I'll select those three spots. And then I'm going to right click over here, extrude. I'm going to extrude symmetric again. I'm going to create a new body this time. Instead of cut, we're going to create a... Actually, we'll just go straight to create a new component, which is a function that you can do. Alright, we'll pull that out. Makes a little extrusion. Alright, we'll turn the sketches off for now. Get them out of our way. Turn our handle back on. Let's double click this. We'll call it the bolster. Enter. Alright, now this might take me a try or two. I'm going to do a modify function. Combine. Let's see. I'll select that one first. And then that one. I'm going to keep the tool. And we're going to do an intersect. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted. Alright, so what that did now was it kept everything that was intersected by those two parts. And if you were to do another function such as cut, you would end up cutting a hole, or you would have joined the parts. What we did was everything that was intersecting where those two parts touched is now what is in the blue. That's what I wanted. Alright, but now what we have, let's take a peek here. You see that we had, this is inside the handle still. So we got to get rid of 3.25 millimeters of the handle. So we're going to do another modify function. Under combine, I'm going to select the target body, which is this handle. We're going to cut the end of the handle off. The tool body is going to be this little plug right here. And we'll cut the end of the handle off using the cut. Alright. So now what we have is two pieces that fit on the end of each other and not just one long one inside the other one, which would cause trouble later for when you're drawing. Alright, just escape that. So that's our little bolster that's custom fit straight onto the handle. Takes two combining steps. Let's go back over here. We're going to turn on the sketches so that I can see some points. I'm going to select, hold down the control key, select handle, select the bolster, right click, move, do a point to point. So select origin point. If that's not blue, then click it so that it becomes blue. I'm going to select origin point. Actually, I'm going to select it down here. And this is why I left that line in there in the sketch so that these points will show up. I wasn't getting the points that I wanted it the other way. Alright, so that's the origin point. We selected down there. Now we're going to select the target point where we want it to move to. I'm going to put it on the handle, or put it on the blank. Centered right there. So you push this, you get your cursor in here and you can highlight this area and it shows all the points you can connect to. I'm going to push down the control key and hold it. And while I hold down the control key, all of those points will stay visible so I can select them easier. So I'm holding down the control key. I'm going to select the center of the bottom edge of this blank. Click it. Select that and click. That didn't happen. Select that and click it. Alright. I did it without the control key down and that worked. For some reason the control key wasn't doing the way it should have. Alright, let's look at this. Turn this off. Alright, that's you see where it's right there. My goodness, things goofy. Alright. Now why that is different, I'm not 100% sure. Okay, got a little space out, that's what's happening. Let's go in a little bit. The handle is slightly at a different angle. When you select, control key, select, right click, repeat move. Alright, got two items selected. You can do a point to point move. Alright, let's undo this. And I'm going to use the top. Alright, we just undid that. I'm gonna use this top position, see if that helps. Because the handle is slightly out. Alright, control key, select, right click, move, origin point. I'm going to select this top edge of the line right there, where that line intersects it. Alright, I'm on the top edge of the knife. I'm going to go to this top little spot right there. This is the center of the center of the blank at the top there. Say OK. We'll close this out and we'll take a look at what we did. Alright, that looks better. You can see that it drew that the bottom edge goes into the blank just a little bit. The bottom edge of the bolster. It's got a slight angle to it. And that can be corrected. I'm not going to correct it now. I'm just showing the basics of how to draw it. You could move the whole, or select this whole thing and then rotate it a slight amount. Alright, now I want to modify, put a filler on this thing. Select the back edge to fill it. Let's try 3 millimeters. 3.5 millimeters. Let's see what happens if we go to 4. We'll go with 4. Say OK. So now we have the back end. That's going to be our pommel. It's left select, right key, go to appearance. We're just going to do a black and gold handle. Expand the appearance. I'm going to go under metal. Bronze. We're going to do a black and bronze. Actually, we're going to do a brass. There was a nice brass that I saw here. I liked. Old matte brass. Just grab it, drag and drop it on the component you want to be colored. Well, my computer must be really getting tired. There we go. Oh, that looks nice. I didn't color all the faces of it. Let's try it again. I think because I just selected the outside is the problem. Just select the whole thing. And drag, that's the same one. Drop it on there. We'll say remove those that were previously applied so they're all applied the same. That looks pretty darn good. We're going to do something a little bit tricky on the back. Oh my goodness, computer is really having a fit. Okay. Escape. We can't keep up here. I'll roll this around. Let's bring back the appearance. Let's see. Left click, right click, repeat appearance. We'll do the old brass again. We'll do it right there on that highlighted area. Okay, I've got another idea here. Let's close that. Open that one. Close that one. I'm going to do some leather. Let's see. We'll do a black matte leather. Right. We'll do it right in that spot. See if I can make it work. Say keep. So then we've got a black leather handle. But I don't want the whole handle to be leather. Close the leather. Let's see. Let me close the brass. Just get down to other. Rubber. Bumpy black rubber. Put that on there. I want to keep the bronze here. I want to keep the bronze here and I keep the leather there. So we'll say remove appearances applied to face. No, I want to keep them. They're already applied. So let's see if this works. Alright. Didn't do it the way I wanted it. I wanted to keep the black leather here, have black rubber here, and bronze right here. But takes a little more practice for me, I guess. I had it working yesterday. I did it differently, I think. Actually, I might have cut the end of the knife like I did on the front to make a separate component for that spot. I bet that's what I did yesterday. Well, let's close this out and take a look at what we have. Enter. Get the browser up. Clean up get rid of our sketches. Close the browser out. That's our knife. Next video will be how to put the bevel on, how to draw the bevel. Before the next video, I've got one more thing here. Forgot about it. We're going to do the create, or we're going to do the modify, combine. We'll select the target body is this. Tool body is this. I'm going to keep the tool. I'm going to cut. I'm going to repeat that function. Combine. This time the target body is the handle. Tool body is the blade. Do a cut, keep the tool. Alright, let's see what happens now. We'll hide this. Alright, now what those two functions did was to cut a perfect hole in the handle and the bolster that matches the blank. And you can see where it even made a little cutout for the lower part of the blade right there in the bolster. Did the rounded radiuses that go in for the blank. And cut it tapered all the way down so it would be a perfect fit. Alright, let's turn the handle back on, use the browser, or turn the blank back on. Close that. Alright, I'll do the bevel, I'll draw the bevel in part 3. Thanks for watching. Take care.